Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. We are wrapping things up here in Texas. It's been a fun 2-day SIP. Nebraska held 2 satellite camps. First on Monday with Mary Hardin Baylor and Belton, Texas, and here on Tuesday with Houston Christian College. The satellite camp, though, held at C.E. King High School because some work being done. But all in all, a really interesting trip. We got to see Matt Rule, 7 of his full-time coaches out in action. And I think really my big takeaway is Matt Rule, just how present, how active he is, and how much work they want to put into events like this.
Yeah, hands-on. He's really hands-on, and this is what Nebraska has to do. I mean, you got to go scour the landscape, and that's what they're doing here. This is work. I mean, especially today, this camp here today in Houston, much more attended, more. I mean, there's just more athleticism here than there was in Belton, Texas. So yeah, it was really illuminating for us to watch this staff work together.
Yeah, the talent definitely deeper. We saw 2+ offers made right on the field tonight by Nebraska, so they clearly saw guys here. There were also more colleges at this second camp. Rice was here, UTSA, Texas San Antonio, UTEP, and then Louisiana Lafayette. They were also here as well. So you had a number of other D1 programs where yesterday Nebraska was the only D1 program. But Matt Rule told me tonight he wants to continue to do 2 days of these events. He goes, we may mix up Belton and go to Dallas next year. He goes, it's up in the air, but I think Houston definitely is a permanent fixture with the relationship, because I do believe this is where their connections are. And Garrett McGuire and I were talking, like, there's so many guys in the state that are under the radar that in other states would be big time players.
That's why you're here. That's why Nebraska's here. Who are the offers, Sean?
Yeah, so a trio of offers went out in the last couple of days. Yesterday in Belton, Texas, Christian Tutson out of Temple, a 2025 wide receiver, was offered. Then Van Keith Brown tonight out of Jordan High School in the Houston area.
What position?
He's a wide receiver, and he was offered by Nebraska as a 2024. He's got a Kansas State offer, a number of other offers, but I think Nebraska's going to try to get him up on campus. Then Braylon Prude out of Shadow Creek. He was a 6'4", 6'5" defensive back. Nebraska's going to try to get him on campus now for a visit. He was probably the most impressive out-of-nowhere guy tonight. He came in really with no major offers, all lower, under-the-radar offers. But this is a kid that runs the 400 meters, sub 50. He's like a 49 in the 400. He can run. He's long. And Matt Rule wanted to make the offer to him. He saw Matt Rule call him over, make the offer to him at the camp.
Right here, right on the field.
So, it's a lot of fun when you go out to an event and see kind of things like that play out. There was another storyline recruiting-wise that emerged. Damon Demis was here, and he's a former 5-star Texas A&M receiver. He is going to be the top junior college recruit, arguably in the country. Had to leave A&M for an off-the-field type of issue, but he'll play 1 year at Garden City, and then he told me he's looking at Alabama, Nebraska, you name it. He's going down to Florida to train at Tyreek Hill. He is a high-profile guy that will play at Garden City, and he talked a lot with the Husker coaches tonight here, just hanging out at the camp.
Yeah, he didn't work out. I mean, that's the thing. Not all these guys that Nebraska's eyeing down here worked out. There are 2 other receivers that didn't work out that they're watching closely. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot done today, Sean.
And then but Gibson Pyle. The Houston area, about an hour from Houston. He came down, visited with the coaches for a brief moment. I mean, they really maximized this. The coaches clinic they held
last night. They had
Tuesday night or Monday night. They had a big clinic for all the area high school coaches to show up at the hotel. So they're not just here to do the camp and go to the hotel. I mean, they really, that's what's probably impressed me the most is how much they've maximized their time out here.
Yeah. The little coaches clinic at the hotel last night in Houston was 30 to 50 coaches, high school coaches, and that's a lot of fellowship, a lot of football talk. One guy that was there was Andrew Shanley, the former Husker. Last year was 2006. Now he's the head coach, Andrew Shanley, at Cypress Ridge in Houston. And, I mean, Andrew's very interested in what's going on. And, by the way, sat down with Tony White, Nebraska's new defensive coordinator, and discussed at length the defense, what Tony White's defense was about. And I'll write about that later.
And that stuff is more productive than just going to a big clinic, because that's real time. You're sitting down, having a beer, hanging out, talking ball.
100.
And that's how you get relationships with coaches, when you have just that intimate one-on-one time where you can just sit down there and be dudes.
And you saw that. I mean, you saw that today. You saw that how many conversations they had on the field today. Yeah, this is work now. It's work. And then they get here, Sean, and there's, kids aren't wearing numbers. They don't know the names. So when they see somebody, they got to go figure out what's going on here. You got to pick out talent. It was very illuminating for me. 2
coaches on this staff. I mean, they all have their moments, but Garrett McGuire, Evan Cooper, those 2 guys are everywhere. When you go to an event like this, Garrett McGuire is running circles around the field, grabbing kids, talking to kids, wanting to work out kids. Evan Cooper's the same way. I mean, they are definitely, the go-getters at an event like this that really try to move and look for guys. The coordinators were both out here present as well. And that's the other thing. For a school like Nebraska, to have a $8-10 million head coach out here, 2 $1 million coordinators on the field, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is, and they're engaged. I mean, but they have really, Sean. They have to be. I mean, it was interesting to me is you have to be able to pick out the talent, and it doesn't present itself, obvious in an obvious manner all the time. But they have trained eyes, and they saw the guys they wanted.
And a few team nuggets we learned over the last couple of days. I'll just kind of go through it all because we can't keep Greg here all night. Otherwise, we could do a whole show. But Xavier Betts, good to go. That was a big development. And
fully eligible.
And they're high on him.
Yeah.
Arik Gilbert, they're waiting on things. That's a process. They're not. I don't think they're worried, so to speak.
I mean, the one thing I'd interject on that, Sean, so people understand, the waiver was only filed by Nebraska 2 to 3 weeks ago. It's not like the waiver was filed months ago and they're still waiting. No, they just filed the waiver 2 to 3 weeks ago. It's a very elaborate waiver, so that's why it's not like they've been waiting for the NCAA. Now the wait begins.
And then July 30th, fall camp the players will report, and they will report to the Selleck Quadrangle dorm, and that I think was one of the bigger storylines we pulled out of this trip because it's so unique. Coach Rule said, he's like, why do people think that's such a big deal? I go, because it's so different. I mean, like, Nebraska's never done something like that with their team, and even Marcus Satterfield said the same thing to you, that he's never really been. It's hard to do.
Hey, listen, Marcus Satterfield has been a college coach for 25 years. He's been at a variety of spots. He says he's never done it, but he's really looking forward to it.
Because they're going to house the team and keep them confined in a facility for 12, 14 days. Where before you could go home, see your girlfriend,
do whatever,
slip out a little bit, do whatever you want to do. That won't be the case. This training camp for these 2 weeks will be a really locked up thing. And I thought that was another big story that we pulled out of this trip.
Yeah, we've never seen that at Nebraska, Sean. I mean, I've been covering them for a quarter century. I don't think they've ever done that.
Well, they used to go to Curtis, Nebraska.
But we're talking about the 19th.
And that was in the 50s.
The 50s.
That's where Bobby Reynolds got an injury. Bobby Reynolds was a Heisman runner-up at Nebraska. He was one of the first Heisman finalists they ever had, and he suffered a career-ending injury, more or less, because they used to do their training camps way out of the middle of nowhere. Got field chalk in his eye.
Oh, boy. Well, there you go. Sun's setting. Greg's
like, all right, you're telling Bobby Reynolds stories. That's our cue to cut to black. But hey, make sure you go to HuskerOnline.com. We've got a great special running this week. 3 months of access for $1, or get the entire year for half off right now, $49.95. HuskerOnline.com. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel. Signing off here with Greg Peterson, our outstanding videographer, and Steve Sipple. Sean Callahan here in Houston, Texas.